You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode number 11. Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets. What's up, coaches? I am so excited for this episode. I am going to break down the biggest myths that most coaches and also aspiring coaches have about what it really takes to successfully market yourself as a coach. Now, I was outlining different myths that I commonly hear, and I came up with so many that this episode is going to be divided into two parts. Yes, it's such a juicy topic that there's going to be a part 2. So right when you finish this episode, I want you to stay tuned and be sure to listen to part 2 when I share it. Now, all of the myths that I'm going to share with you, the reason that they are myths is because many people think they're true, but they're actually not true. That's what makes them a myth. So I want you to really tune in and notice if even a part of you has believed any of these myths before or up until this point, and see what becomes possible when you start to really understand the truth. Now, if you think that any part of marketing yourself as a coach, no matter what stage you are in your business, even if you're just getting started, if you think that that marketing process has to be hard, complicated, or stressful, that is only because you're probably believing the myths that I'm going to debunk. Now, the reason that I'm also making this is because I've heard them shared a lot in this industry. There's so much misinformation out there. And I've been able to build my business from 0 to multiple 6 figures without having a marketing degree, without having an MBA. And one of the things that I've come to realize about marketing is that when you really look at what marketing is, because we hear that word and we think that it's this really abstract concept, all marketing is telling people that you're a coach, building a relationship with them, and seeing how you can help them. It truly is that simple, but our minds sometimes tell us otherwise. So think about what are the ideas you have right now about marketing yourself as a coach. It's so important to really catch yourself on all the thoughts you have about marketing yourself as a coach and question, where am I getting this idea from? How true is it really? What assumptions might I be making? Because marketing can truly be fun and simple if you allow it to be. Now, when I do say simple, I want to clarify, I don't mean easy. Anything that's worthwhile in life requires our effort. So having a successful coaching business does require effort. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. But I do think that if there's any industry to do extremely well in as an entrepreneur and make a huge contribution to the world, it's the coaching industry. I think now it has never been simpler to market yourself as a coach, to meet people from all around the world. You don't even have to get dressed up and leave your home to do that. We really do live in the best time ever to go all in with coaching careers. Now, when you truly start to understand the marketing side of coaching, you will really grasp the truth that there's uncapped earning potential that you have as a coach. You can charge whatever you want. You can work with whoever you want from anywhere in the world. So when you really let go of all these marketing myths I'm going to dissolve for you, you won't even be concerned about what the average salary that Google tells you life coaches make, because you're just going to be finding clients everywhere. You'll find clients whenever you want, and you'll also give yourself a raise whenever you want to. So let us begin with myth number 1. The first myth that I hear is that it's going to take many, many years of marketing before you can become successful as a coach. I've heard aspiring coaches say, well, doesn't it take like 5 years or 10 years of marketing before you start to really have success as a coach and things really take off? This is not true. This is a myth. Now, of course, success is going to look very different for each person. Generally, one of the milestone moments that a lot of coaches have is they want to earn enough to meet whatever earnings they're making in their current job. So they want to be able to match their current salary. So the first thing to really ask yourself is, where do you get this idea from that it's going to take you X number of years before you can be successful as a coach? Sometimes it's just a random assumption that people are making. So the thing is, there is no predetermined timeline for your success as a coach. It's kind of like when someone might say, it takes 10 years before you can successfully write and distribute a book. I would hear that constantly when it came to book writing. I heard that it, could even take a lifetime before someone can create a book. And one of my mentors, he became a Wall Street Journal bestselling author by writing a book in 30 days. And he didn't have any experience writing books before. So how is that possible, right? If so many people have these rules around it taking so much time to achieve a certain goal or get a certain result, then how can other people achieve it in such a faster time? Another example of this, I recently started to pick up learning the piano. And when I got my first lesson book, I had this immediate assumption that it was going to take me a year before I'd be able to get through the whole book. And on lesson 1, my piano coach told me that I will be through the book probably in 3 months. 3 months. That is like 75% faster than what my assumption was. So I just had to get out of my own way and realize that. And now I'm seeing how I'm actually making progress so much faster without having that rule limit me. So you have so much more power over your timeline of success than you realize. And there is actually research that backs this idea up. There's a concept called Parkinsons Law. This is a theory. And the theory, stay with me here. I know that some of you are like, oh my gosh, where are we going with this? So it's a theory that just explains how work expands to fill the time allotted. Work will expand to fill the time allotted. So if you give something, a goal you have, if you decide to give it more time, your mind will actually create more effort to fill the time that you decide on using. Isn't that fascinating? So it's just like amazing when we really conceptualize that, because if you decide that it takes 5 years of really intense marketing before you can start having success as a coach, your brain is going to complicate the process and the journey so much that it will give you 5 years worth of things to do before you get results. But you can also use Parkinson's Law in your favor by just deciding how much time you want to allot for yourself to produce whatever result you want to have in your business, whether that be replace your current income or go beyond it. So what if you could have a successful coaching business in the next year? Just what if you allow that to be true? And it's not just when it comes to like certain goals in life that, we could decide on how much time we want it to take. It's even just day-to-day occurrences. Like, for example, when you think about scheduling a meeting with someone or having a phone call, isn't it fascinating how there's this assumption that the default time period for a meeting is an hour, whether you need the hour or not? Like, have you ever gone through a meeting and it was an hour and you thought at the end of it, you know what, we probably could have just covered everything in 15 minutes or less. Yet our mind still tells us that we need an hour to have a meeting, and we just end up babbling on and on with mostly unnecessary information because we're telling our brains that we need to take an hour in order to get something done. So in order to really debunk this myth for you that it's going to take a long time, many years of marketing before you'll see success, the first thing you want to do is decide the result that you want to have. So for you, it might be to earn a certain amount. Maybe it's the current salary you're making. Maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's $100K. So what is the result that you want? The second step is to decide how long you want to give yourself to create that result. How long do you want to give yourself to create that result? Now, I like to also challenge coaches a little bit because they'll say, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 years of marketing my coaching business before I'm going to, have the success I want to have, before I'm going to get the result. Whatever you have in mind, my challenge for you is to cut it in half and then start there. See what your brain is able to do and produce, and how much more efficiently it will work when you can cut it in half. So if your mind tells you that it's going to take 3 years of marketing yourself before you can replace your current salary, or before you can earn $100,000 in a year as a coach, cut it in half. Like, what if it can only take you a year and a half to do that? Right? So that is step 2, is deciding how long you want to give yourself to create the result. Be careful not to just label this timeline based off of a random assumption you have. Really be conscious and deliberate about how much time you want to give yourself to create that result. And then the third step is just to outline, how are you going to go about doing it? How are you going to go about doing it? Right? So for example, like, let's imagine that you had this goal of throwing a party for a family member that was going to be visiting in the next month. And you knew that over the next month, you'd be able to plan out that entire party that you were going to throw. And then let's imagine that tomorrow morning you wake up and you realize that you had the date wrong for when your family member was going to be visiting. And you find out that they're actually arriving the next day. They're coming. Your brain will immediately shift. It's going to start thinking, okay, how can I plan the party within 24 hours? How will I go about doing it? Right? And your brain will start to give you the most essential things that you can do, right? You won't just fill up space with unnecessary stuff that's not going to serve you. You'll actually start discovering techniques and approaches that you can use to get the work done in less time. This is Parkinson's Law in action. Okay. So whatever type of belief around how many years of marketing you think it's going to take, just chop it in half and allow your brain to really sit with that, and remember that you get to decide how much time you want something to take. You get to decide ahead of time exactly how much space you'd like to give a goal. All right, so let's talk about myth number 2. This one's also a bit time related. The second myth I hear is, I will need a lot of free time in order to market myself well as a coach. So people have this idea that marketing will require many hours a day or several hours a week. And I find this really fascinating because I've seen many coaches have success with very different circumstances going on in their life. I've seen coaches who work full-time jobs and are raising kids. Very, very much their life is full already. I've seen them have amazing results. I've also seen coaches who have a lot of time in their life to market their business. I've seen them have amazing results too, but I've also seen the opposite. So it kind of just introduces this idea of, well, how much time does one really need to market themselves well as a coach? Well, what I've realized is that the circumstances don't matter. So whether you already have a full-time job, whether you're raising kids, whether you have a really open day with many hours, the quantity of time you have does not matter as much as the quality of the actions you take. The quality of the actions you take is what matters most when it comes to marketing yourself. So there is no rule that you need to have 3 hours a day, 3 spare hours a day in order to really successfully market yourself and get your message out there as a coach. So notice, like, what does your brain tell you about how many hours you think you need to have a day in order to be successful marketing yourself? Because it's not true. Have you ever heard of the concept of working smarter, not harder? Right? We hear this constantly, but many coaches just have no idea that really it's not about working harder, longer hours to be successful and marketing yourself that way. It's really just knowing how to market yourself in a smart, intelligent way. So one of the ways to do this is to get proper training, like learning frameworks that you can rely on that have already been proven to work. Right? I find that rather than throwing things at the wall, when I just invest in getting mentorship and guidance, I'm able to accelerate my efforts, double or even triple the speed. So this is why when students enroll in Thriving Coach Academy, we give them done-for-you frameworks and tools that will allow them to very quickly get their coaching businesses up and running, because they're able to do the exact actions that won't require nearly as much time as they think. They won't need to try to spin their wheels and figure it all out. Now, another thing to keep in mind when it comes to thinking you need to have lots and lots of time a day to market yourself is that there's really one of the concepts I like to share is the difference between being busy and being productive. Okay, so especially as adults, we sometimes have the desire to feel busy because we associate being busy as feeling valued or important or special or significant. And before we know it, our life just becomes full of busy, 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 but we're not really doing many productive things that actually move us forward and create the life we actually want. So when it comes to marketing your business, right, rather than just filling your schedule with busy things you can do to market yourself, it's really asking yourself, is what I'm doing productive? Am I taking the productive actions that are going to get me the best results as I market myself? Okay. So there's a concept that I really love called the 80-20 rule or the 80-20 principle. And we're getting really conceptual in this episode. So the 80-20 rule, what it means is that 80% of any results that you have in your life, 80% of that result will come from 20% of the effort you put in. Isn't that fascinating? So 80%, and this goes for anything, not just business. It can go for your health goals. It can go for anything or your relationships. 80% of the results that you have come from only 20% of your efforts. So that means 80% of your efforts are actually getting you very little of the results. You've got to focus on the 20% of the efforts that are really giving you the best return. Those are the productive actions. So 80%, how this applies to you right now, if you're someone who is thinking of really going all in or launching a coaching business and you have this idea of all the things you're going to have to do and all the time it's going to take, 80% of what you think you'll need to do and spend your time on, you won't. So 80% of what you think you're going to need to do, you can take that idea off your plate because it's only the 20%, the productive actions that will yield you the best results with your marketing. So you just need to know what are the most productive actions you can take. What are the highest quality actions? And when coaches ask me this, I say that the 20%, what are the most productive actions? That's the time you're spending having real conversations with people about coaching and offering to help them. That's it. If you devote any amount of time you have to just doing actions that allow you to have real conversations with people about coaching where you offer to help them, you will find that you will very, very quickly have clients lining up to work with you. Now, I was also coaching someone a few months ago, and she was describing to me how, she's a very busy mom and she has a full-time job and she was building up a coaching business, and she really didn't feel like she had a lot of time left for her. And she was holding this against her, that she had other things going on in her life and she also wanted to build up her coaching business. And we came up with this really cool idea of what if you only had 1 hour a day to market yourself as a coach, but that was the only amount of time you actually needed? What if that was the perfect amount of time to market yourself and you didn't even need any more time? And we started calling it the magic hour. So for you right now, what if you only needed 1 hour a day or even a week to market yourself as a coach in order to have success? And you called it the magic hour. And in that hour, you only took productive actions. I believe that if someone were to do this as a coach, if they only honored 1 magic hour of only productive actions that inspire them to have real conversations with people about coaching where you're offering to help them, you will get so much farther than someone who has 30 hours marketing themselves, but they're just staying busy. They're not doing productive actions, okay? So the amount of time does not matter. The amount of free time you have in your life doesn't matter. It really is about the quality actions that you take in whatever time you have. So whatever time you have right now, given your schedule, just know that is the perfect amount of time as long as you take quality actions, okay? We have many students in Thriving Coach Academy who end up having several people booking consultations with them and hiring them to be their coaches even before they get certified, okay? So you also don't need to completely master coaching and get paid well before you can even start to enroll clients. Sometimes people have this belief that they need to wait until they, get fully trained in order to start getting clients. All right, so let's go into the third myth. The third myth is that this is a big one. Oh my gosh. This idea that most people can't afford coaching, or you can really only market coaching to rich people since coaching is a quote luxury expense. So sometimes I'll hear this worded where people say, well, I don't really live in a wealthy neighborhood, so coaching won't be accessible to them. So therefore it will be very hard for me to really market myself to a wider audience. So this is a myth. This is a myth, people. Now, there's a lot of things to really unpack with this. The first thing is that most coaches work with clients worldwide. So your geographic location has zero relevance to your success as a coach or your ability to market yourself. You're able to work with clients worldwide. Okay, most coaches take their client calls over the phone or through video call. And also, most clients are found online. And I know you probably have some thoughts and some assumptions about marketing yourself online, which we will debunk later and also in part 2. So the myth at hand, though, is this idea that coaching is a luxury expense. I just want to speak to that. So in anything in life, if people are invested and they see the value, they will make it a point to invest financially. If people are invested emotionally in something and they see the value, they will make it a point and a priority to invest financially. So for example, I invested in coaching at times in my life where I was broke, right? I didn't consider myself a wealthy person when I began to invest significantly in coaching. In fact, I had tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And even though I had that in my life, I still believed that coaching was the smartest thing to invest my money in. I still saw so much value in it. And after I got coaching, I was able to save so much time, money, and energy, and also bypass so much suffering that I would have experienced in my life if I didn't have the awareness that I got from all of my coaching that I received. So I truly believe in my bones that I owe all of my success in my life, all of the achievements I've been able to have, to coaching. So I think that coaching is the most valuable and the best investment that anyone can make in their life. I think it is a smarter investment than buying a house, than buying stocks in the stock market. Coaching is the best and the smartest investment to make because there is such a tremendous return. There is a return in so many different ways. You get a return financially, emotionally, spiritually, even in your relationships. So I believe that whatever I invest in coaching, it always comes back to me tenfold in many different ways in my life. So when you have this idea that coaching is only something that rich people can afford, this is really about understanding the value of coaching, right? Coaching is what allows people to use their mind to create any result in their life. So when you get coaching, you learn how to never be stuck in any challenge again. Now think about how valuable that is for anyone. I call this 360 ROI. So whenever someone invests in coaching, they're getting a 360 return on the investment. Financial, emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, and also social. So the quality of relationships improve when people invest in coaching. The quality of their family relationships, their friendships, their intimate relationships, it all goes through the roof. People also learn when they get coached on their minds, they learn how to create more money in their life. Coaching taught me how to create money at any level. It is amazing. Coaching also teaches people how to use their time more efficiently so they get more done in less time. So literally, any goal you have, coaching will accelerate your path to success. When you really can understand the value of coaching, right, you will start to realize that it is truly something that people of all different levels of life will be happy to invest in. Like I was a broke person that put so much money on the line because I knew coaching was so valuable. So just notice if you have this assumption that it's a luxury expense, I see it as a necessary expense for living. I mean, right at this point, in my budget, I have coaching that is on the money I invest in coaching, that is a non-negotiable for me. Like I will invest a certain amount in coaching every month and every year, just as I will invest a certain amount in my food, in my utility expenses, in all of my survival expenses. Coaching is on that same plane. So just be open to that possibility that when people really see the value of coaching, they will value it just as much as they value anything in life, because coaching is life-giving, right? It allows us to truly experience life to the fullest. It gives us life when we have coaching. Just as water and food and shelter, right? It provides us foundation for a life, coaching I see in the same exact space. And so many people do as well. So what if you saw coaching in that same regard? How concerned would you be about, coaching just be a luxury expense? And also, with all that being said, there are ways to make coaching more accessible to people of different financial circumstances. One of the ways that you can offer coaching is through group coaching. So instead of charging one person $500 for an hour, you can have 5 people in a group and each person only pays $100 for the session. So you still get to earn whatever you want to earn, whatever hourly rate you want to have, and also more people get to benefit from it and utilize it at a different investment level. So it's something to keep in mind if you do plan to work with communities who might have limited resources. There are ways to strategically market your coaching to make it accessible to them and also still sustain yourself as a coach. In Thriving Coach Academy, we give all of our students deep group training so they know how to leverage and scale their coaching in order to serve groups in addition to one-on-one clients. All right, so the next myth that I want to talk about is the assumption that your network or your following is too small in order for you to really have success as a coach. I hear this constantly. This idea that, I don't have a lot of followers online, or my network really isn't big enough for me to have enough coaching clients to sustain me. So this comes from this assumption that your current following or network is what determines your success as a coach. It actually does not. Your current network has zero relevance to your success as a coach. When I got started as a coach, I barely had a network. I was in my mid-20s. I didn't have decades of climbing up the corporate ladder and building professional relationships with people. My network was other broke college graduates. Those were the people in my life. So your network right now, your following, has zero that is zero sign to how much success you can have as a coach. And also just realize that when you use the word network, sometimes we think of network as this static thing. It's just, here's my network. Here's just the network I have. Your network is dynamic, right? It's able to change. It's able to grow. It's able to evolve. So your current network will evolve as you market yourself. You will attract new people. You will bring new people in. Sometimes I'll hear new coaches ask, well, what's a good size network to have, or what's a good amount of followers to have? There is no perfect size network. There is no required following that you need to have before you can get started. And it's also helpful to not dismiss whatever network you have right now, right? You might have, even if you have a small network, you might have people in your network who would love to work with you, or who would refer people to hire you. So they may even become some of your first clients, okay? So don't dismiss your current network. Don't assume that none of them would be interested in coaching just because you have assumptions about them. It's really important to know that what you start with doesn't determine what you end up with. And this is a good principle to have in life. Whatever you're starting with in life, it's not going to determine what you end up with. I like to also think of this like, it's not where you come from, it's where you decide to go. Now, sometimes people describe their network as like this passive thing in their life that's just there. It's so important to remember that you can create your own network. You can create and grow and change your own network. So it's not who you know that determines your success. It's who you are. Who you are. Who you are will attract people to want to know you. So see yourself really in the driver's seat of your network rather than just the network as this passive thing that you need to now make the most of. Who you are matters more than anything. Who you are is going to attract people to want to know you and be a part of your network. And really consider, what if you can create your own network and your own community? Meaning you're letting people come to you rather than you trying to tap into your current network. What if you can actually create your own network and community that people are drawn to? So one example of this for my journey as a coach, many years ago, I decided that I wanted to offer support to the LGBT community. And I noticed that there was really not opportunities for people in that community to explore their purpose and really uncover their own spiritual path in life and have a space to engage in those conversations and really, really uncover who they are and why they feel they're on the planet. So I decided, since I couldn't find really a network or a community for that I created it. And it was really an amazing lesson when I did that, because if I just assumed that my current network would be all that I really would be stuck with, I would have very little success if I just let my current network at the time determine it. But I decided I was going to create a network. I was going to create a space for LGBTQ people who were spiritually minded and wanted to ask those deep questions. And I playfully came up with a spin-off of the word namaste and named the community Namaste Gay. I was with a friend and we came up with this word, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Frank, you need to trademark that right away. Run with it." So I put out Namaste Gay. I created some online communities, and before I knew it, within 24 hours, I was having hundreds of people start to join in these communities, reach out, introduce themselves. So my network overnight went from just a few hundred of friends and family to literally thousands. There were thousands of people from all around the world who were joining in the community that I created and wanting to know exactly where they could get started. And because I decided to be the creator of this networking community, I was directly able to speak to my ideal clients. They came to me for support, and I was able to build up a successful coaching business offering support to that community. And it was so much fun. So your current network is not a determining factor of your success. The more confident that you get as a coach, the more you're going to be building relationships with people, the more your network's going to expand, and the more you will magnetize people into your network. All right. So the last myth I want to share with you in this episode is, it's a kind of a funny one. I've heard it a few times, this idea that in order to market yourself as a coach, you have to beg your family and friends to work with you. I thought this was so interesting when I heard that someone asked me if they were going to have to beg their family and friends to work with them and perhaps even start paying them. And the simple answer to this is no, you don't have to do any of that. I think that this myth may come from how people perceive a lot of other network marketing companies, or just companies where you really have to pull on your friends and family. You have to pull them into the business to help them grow it. Maybe if you have this myth, maybe you've had a family member who's always trying to sell you into their stuff at family gatherings. Now, the good news is that as a coach, you don't have to do any of that ever. You don't have to do any of that. There are many people in the world who want coaching, and your business is going to be generated from those people, not from your friends and family. My friends and family have never paid for my coaching, and I have never had to ask them to refer people to my business as well. I have not relied on any type of support from friends and family. Now, with that said, it's totally okay if you want to coach your friends and family, but only if you want to, right? So in my first couple of months as a coach, I did coach some friends on real challenges in their life, but I didn't charge for it. I didn't beg them to work with me. I just said, if you're interested, I want to try out some of the skills I'm learning. And a few of them were actually really wanting to get some support, and they were so intrigued by all the work I was learning as a coach. So you can coach friends and family if you want to, but you certainly do not have to. It is not a requirement for your success. So you can absolutely rest assured that you don't have to be nudging your friends and family to sign up for your coaching. If they want to, if you want to work with them maybe for free just to get some practice, and maybe if they get real value, they'll want to contribute a success story to you that you can then leverage to sell your coaching to other people. By all means, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Just know that you don't have to ever beg your family and friends. All right. So those are some of the biggest myths that I've heard many new and aspiring coaches have. Make sure you get ready for part 2, where I'm going to dive into some more marketing myths. So that's what I got for this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coaches' secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.